Hello, and welcome back to the definitive Starship review series without access to a proper table. Today, probably a little later than I wanted to, we're going to be looking at the U.S.S. Zheng-He, the second issue of the Universe collection. But first, I want to make a little bit of an amendum to the video I did on the Lost Arena. I mentioned this in the comments, but it had a little misprint right there where the detailing just kind of stopped a little bit way through. Apparently, everybody's model has that. So if you get the Lost Arena, you're just gonna have that problem. I have gotten the XL Lost Arena since that video, though. Really good model. Highly recommend it. I'll do a video on it later, but I just wanted to let people know. Anyway, you can see it's yet another good ship. Long ship. The Zheng-He is even longer than the Lost Arena. In fact, it was a little hard in the Discovery collection to find an exact match, but it is almost exactly as long as the U.S.S. Brawn. Brawn? Yeah, Brawn. It's written on the ship. Obviously not as volumetric, but the same length. Then jumping back to the normal collection, it is also about exactly the same length as the XL NX, as well as the XL Enterprise D and presumably all of its variants. And I didn't have room to put them on the table, but it is also about the same size as the XL Akira and the XL Defiant, almost exactly. So yes, the infamous copy-paste ship. The magazine actually had something very interesting on that I'll get to later if you stick around. But it's generally a very nice model. A lot of people, when you see the Zheng-He, your first ship is, oh my god, why is there only one ship? I'm not really here to talk about that in this video. But when you actually look at it as a model, people are generally real favorable of it on its own. I don't think I'm as favorable as most. I do like it overall, but it's just this forward-sweeping pylon thing has never really been my favorite. It's a lot like the early Enterprise E concepts, if you've ever seen them. And I don't like the early Enterprise E concepts because of the nacelles. Like maybe if you push those forward and make them straight, I like them a lot more. But I think this is a pretty good ship. It's a lot darker than anything else in the collection. Maybe not quite as shiny and metallic as the promotion pictures might have suggested, but it does stand out a lot as just a dark ship. The nacelles are painted. They're not the transparent stuff Eaglemoss usually does, but honestly, I'm not too fussed about that. I think it looks pretty good. The impulse engines are the standard translucent plastic stuff. That orange actually looks really really good, sorry. I know usually it's red for impulse, but I quite like that look with the darker hull plating. The windows are all very nice. They all seem to be lined up correctly. I like this structure they've got on the top. Almost like the palace on the Chiron, just a really tall kind of bump 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 all the way up to the bridge. Very fortress-like. You've got your shuttle bay at the front with a fair amount of detailing. You've got underneath is also very nicely detailed. You got some textured bits for these random greeblies. No coloring on the deflector dish, but as far as I can tell, that's because the ship itself doesn't have any coloring. Which, it's hard to say if I like that or not without seeing it with like the standard blue or any color in the deflector dish, but it is rather unusual when you get it at an angle like this, where there's basically no color. It almost looks unpainted. But that's of course not the model's fault, that's the fault of the design. And you have some nice little detailing. You've got these little yellow triangles there. There's a very faint red on here that I didn't actually notice until I saw it in the magazine. But yeah, that's about it as far as it goes for colors. Of course, your little impulse engines as well. And presumably a back shuttle bay. I don't know if this is a fly-through shuttle bay or if it's just kind of a front and a rear. But yeah, it's a pretty nice looking ship. You've also got detailing of your escape pods down here. Not a whole lot around the ship. There's also some up here, very faint. I think he might have a bit of a Titanic situation looking at this, actually. It is actually a classic Star Trek design. 2006 was the original concept art for a Star Trek game, but um, it doesn't have phaser strips, but neither does the actual Zheng-He model, I'm pretty sure. But it is kind of missing those standard, you don't have enough escape pods if you look close, and I'm not seeing any obvious sort of this is a thing Star Trek Federation ships have. I don't really know what these are. They're new. I like them, but they're new. There may be sensor grills or something. This is kind of like what Voyager had. Almost looks like little doors, like cupboards. You can open it up, like, whoop, oh yes, here's some sugar. A lot of people have pointed out it is a very light model. Way more plasticky than metal. I think all of this outer bit is plastic. Of course, the nacelles are plastic. This whole bottom chunk appears to be plastic. This is plastic as well on the bottom. I think this front and rim is metal. It's real hard to say. This top bit might be metal. It feels cooler kind of up front here. It is a very plasticky model. I don't mind. I kind of see weight as a bonus, because, when you pick it up, you're like, oh, that's got a nice weight, or maybe that's a bit light, but, 99.9% of the time, this is what the ship looks like. I'm here to look at it, not to, throw it across the room. But yeah, this top profile particularly, I think it's a very nice ship, and it does reflect very well. Just maybe not as much as the pictures would have shown, and bear in mind, it's professionally lit right now. There we go, the picture quality's gone way down, but this is more what it looked like in your standard room, where, yeah, it's reflecting. I guess if you had LEDs, it'd be more like the studio lights, but it's not quite as reflective in a standard room.
No. To the 5.
But yes, under some sort of LED light or film light, like, if you have a lot of these on a display, it will give off quite a nice shine. I also think the magazine is of particular note for this. It's technically 14 pages, feels more like 6, because it's very light. A lot of pictures, but it's the most fascinating magazine there is, because it really tells the story. Of course, Discovery, particularly Season 3, the CGI team has gone above and beyond, whether you like them or not, actually making ships. There's an absurd amount of ships, particularly in Season 3 during the pandemic when everyone was working at home. And then you look at Picard, and it's like, honestly, quite frankly, it's embarrassing that they just made the one ship. But I'm gonna read to you, actually, the bit from John Eves, was it? When he talked about doing the ship. Yes, John Eves, because I mentioned it was for a game. Eves remembers that he had packed up and gone home to Utah when he got an urgent call. It was the middle of the summer, and we got a call saying, send over those 3 drawings again, the 3 variations for the inquiry class. But put the name Zheng-He and this registry number on there. It was an emergency. I had to have that drawing to them within an hour. I think the show was going to air in a matter of weeks. So, oops, I bumped the camera, but apparently, it's somewhat well known now, I think, that the modern writers don't plan their seasons out. Or, well, they are now, but they haven't done it for any Star Trek that's currently come out. And apparently, the finale wasn't set in a matter of weeks before it, needed to be done, to the point where they, didn't even know they were going to have Starfleet involved at all, which is very fascinating. You get to see this classic Star Trek design, because it is a classic design. It's well before the modern era that this was actually made up, and I think that might have part of why it feels a lot closer to the Enterprise E and an evolution of it. I'm not saying the modern people can't do that, but it was designed in the classic era. This is very clearly I'm not complaining, but it's very clearly kind of, push this bit, pull this bit on the Enterprise E. But anyway, that's the Zheng-He. Hopefully I'm going to get to the Bird of Prey a bit faster next month. But I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any other questions about the model or anything else you want me to do, let me know. I have about half of all the Eaglemoss ships. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.